Good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital, Nightly Strategy Podcast for July 25th, 2024. This is a pencil sketch from Gavin Coates from Singapore, who listened to our discussions of the water ecosystem in the mill, in the village, and mystical mountains, and rendered it into this beautiful form. Thought it was pretty cool. Start with the sniper trades of the day. Alrighty, this is DIA. This is 30-minute, or I'm sorry, 10-minute. Here is yesterday's close. Here's the open, not much of a gap. Here's the OR10. There's the breakout in the next bar above the OR10, which gets us long. This is the 5-day anchored VWAP and the 3-day anchored VWAP. That gives us targets to shoot for on the upside. This was the 5-day low, so it feels like it could be bouncing. So that gives us the entry, checker hold. There's our standard risk box. It rolls back and we get maybe a quarter of an R. It comes right back to the Bollinger Band mean, which is that dashed red line right here. So it flirted with that 3-day VWAP and then rolled back. So we cashed that little win right there. Like to start the day with a win. That's a re-entry on a 1, 2, 3 entry. Same size risk box. Gets through the 3-day and the 5-day anchored VWAPs. We get a rollover of the RL10 here. And a couple dragon horns. And that triggers us out here. That gives us about 1, 2, about 3R. When it crosses below the rising PSAR and the dragon is rolled over and the RL30 is rolling over, and it's heading back towards the Bollinger Band main. We get short, standard risk. It moves through the Bollinger Band mean down to the anchored VWAP. Falls through. When it rolls back and hits the skin of the dragon, we get out for an additional 1R. So that gives us 1. So net for the day is about 4.3. This is US Steel. This was on my short list because of a swing trade pattern. It's one of my standard tradables. This was a 3-minute. Here's the OR3. There's the close yesterday and the gap up. So that's your OR3. It breaks down. So I'm getting short. With the standard risk. It mucks around and we lose 0.5 on it. It just doesn't follow through. This price action here looked like a quick dip and go because it came to the Bollinger Band mean and held. So we just cut that loss here for minus 0.5. Gives me a Kata 2 and an emerging dragon entry. Probably missed a second entry in there somewhere. Certainly missed it. And then took the R10 rollover. and the P1, and I took the just the straight PSAR exit. And that gave us for standard unit of risk, it gave us 1, 2, 3, 4, a little over 4. So this came in at about 3.5 after losing half an hour early. And rest of the day just kind of ground sideways. Last one, saw Jay's there, so we're gonna take a quick look at SPY on the threes. So yesterday's close, today's OR3, it broke down right away, so I get short with a standard risk. I take the skin of the dragon exit after the R10 rolls up. When it crosses the VWAP, I take the re-entry long here. With a standard risk. It makes a dragon horns. The R10 rolls over. There's a P1. I take the about right. I get filled around the spine of the dragon. That gives me about 2. The daily VWAP is let's see, is right here. Okay. So you could almost see that as accelerated sell off, but not on that much volume because the VWAP only got to here. And then the crossover unleashes the hounds. So here's the daily VWAP probably right there, and then the Bollinger Band mean is probably looking like that. I take the short position when I get everything rolling over. There's a you have the R10 rollover. Oops, make that blue. Yeah, the R10 rolls over, which is what triggered my exit. Then you got the RL30 rolling over, the Dragon rolling over, the PSAR flipping. You got your Bollinger Band mean here, so that's I'm looking for that kind of a short. If it gets through the daily VWAP, I'm thinking it comes down to here. Um, I lose half an hour on it immediately, and that gives me a COTA 2 re-entry. Check or hold.
Check.
That one gives us like a second leg up. It's not as big as the first leg, but it gives us a little over an R. We're just coming out of lunch. It breaks down through the Bollinger Band mean. There's your Bollinger Band mean, which is rolling over. You got the R10 or R10 and 30 rolling over, had a PSAR violation. So this one got far enough through the Bollinger Band mean. I decided to go ahead and take that short, and I'm targeting for the daily VWAP because we're after 1 p.m. So I'm thinking that would be a reasonable move. I scratched it and then it collapsed again, so I re-entered on a collapsing dragon. That one works out, gets down to the VWAP and holds. So I take half an R there. It then collapsing dragon again. That one was surprising and it violated the VWAP. I take it, it looks like it's stabilizing, so I just cover and I'm just about done for the day because we're in the last half hour. And then it explodes up and then collapses way down. I'm nowhere to be found. An amazing afternoon. So if we look at that thing from that retrospect, you know, this this sell off to here ends up coming all the way back here. Here's your midpoint, leg 1, 2, and a nudge. 1, 2, 3. That's as symmetrical a day as you could want. That bodes tomorrow should be fireworks because there was a huge market reversal across all the leaders. So tomorrow should be quite a lively day, I would say. Let's go to the traders. Here's Kevin. So he's working Devon Energy here on the threes, and he's using his 3-minute, 9-minute blend where he's drawing the dragon and the baby dragon off the 9-minute, 9-minute dragon and 9-minute PSAR, but he's executing on 3-minute bars. So he gets this little breakout here. It rolls over. I think he stayed too long and ends up taking minus 0.4 R. It reverses in his favor, crosses the dragon and baby dragon, re-enters. And takes the that PSAR exit there for 1.7, and he nets 1.3. He's talking through his rationale and experiences with this so far. That seems to be suiting his psychology pretty nicely. Sorry. This is Satya. This is UDAO. So this is the triple, that's like the triple DIA. Opens, gets an OR3, SSC kind of a breakout. Exits here for 1.8. Gets a COTA 2 reentry for 2.6. Emerging Dragon reentry for 2.8. And he's feeling pretty good about banking 7.2 on the way up. Doesn't take the breakdown on the collapsing dragon and probably leaves another 8 or 9 R on the table, but traded the front half of that climbing the hill just as nice as you could want. Here's Brian on, oh, excuse me. This is the Euro Aussie on fives. Brings in 2.9. He doesn't get the breakout. Gets the next leg up as a COTA 2 or emerging dragon. Cashes it nicely. Doesn't play this collapsing dragon here, which so if that's 3, that's probably 6 that was left on the table. Still, we'll take 3R. Shift to the daily. I'll get this printed and posted for you shortly. I wanted to show you something, Jay. That note you sent me the other day was really spot on. You had noticed that the R10, let me thicken that up a little bit here. You had noticed that the R10 had peaked and now was on this downward trajectory. And you notice that it had crossed the RL30 here, entered the dragon, left the dragon, and this is where you alert said, hey, this thing has come all the way back and crossed the SMA 30, probably a change in market bias. And yeah, and in the last 2 days, it's lost an additional 3%. That's kind of a sort of a official upside bias and then downside bias because of the R10 being on the other side of that Bollinger Band mean, which is now starting to flatten out. And if we get more selling, that thing is going to just start rolling over. So that's a really good insight as far as the broader market psychology and bias. So good job picking that up. This was today on, this is the 30-minute bar for the last, the red box is 5 days. The blue box is 10 days. I want you to notice that this is the 30-day high and that's the 30-day low. So that's the 30-day range as well. But the 10-day range, you can see the increasing in volatility. The width of the 10-day range is as large as the 30-day. And the 5-day is almost as wide as both of them. So this acceleration in volatility from here all the way down to here is pretty extraordinary. So that's a abnormality. And that volatility has now actually moved us up into bullish volatile. You see that volatility has come at a cost of short-term weakness, oversold. Now, because we've had such a long run, you can see a lot of buy on dip signals coming out of the out of channeling and overreaction. That's not surprising. They always want to put you long after in a period of maximum uncertainty, and that's what you have when you have this much of a sell-off. You're going to see buy on dips in the strongest sectors, but you can see here we're getting to significant volatility spikes here. The guys getting the max pains, Intel, Nvidia, Disney, Microsoft, tech. The things that are suffering the least, Coca-Cola, Walmart, 3M, Johnson and Johnson. So kind of your Main Street kinds of companies. In the Dow Tactical, it's a mixed bag. You had some strength here in IBM and Johnson had 2 good days. A really good day in Coca-Cola. Suffering in Disney, Microsoft, and Nvidia. Lots of auto framers to choose from. Disney's on a 5DD. In the ETFs, just weakness across the board. Plenty of auto framers to choose from. Take your pick. Just Johnson and Johnson on the, or I'm sorry, JP Morgan on the daily squeeze. Kind of a mixed bag in the large caps. You got pain and suffering up in here. Microsoft, PayPal, Intel, Nvidia, Apple, and Oracle. So all the techs are getting slaughtered. Some strength in here. Coca-Cola, US Steel, Johnson and Johnson. Most of the ETFs getting obliterated in this little sell-off. And that's including things like US Tech, the S&P itself. but you also got Mexico and Brazil. So quite and the Euro Asia blend. So this is a kind of a global phenomenon, this selling. Regional banks, the one of the few bright spots, and the energy sector, which is very cyclical. The Z score of the RL10, which hit peaks like this, now has fallen down, is dropping like a stone as it falls out of the river. The last time it did that, that was the last significant little weakness, but it held. This one could easily come all the way back down to 500, which would be another 6%. We're 6% away from a return to 500. All right, that's everything for today. It'll be ready for fireworks tomorrow. I'll get the slides printed and posted for you here shortly.